My name is Jason JROCK Houston, and you are listening to Chaotic Riffs Magazine. Our special guest tonight is Signal 13 lead singer Vicky Starr. Welcome to the show today, Vicky, and how are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having us.
Great. I got to tell you, Vicky, first question I got to ask is, how new of a band is Signal 13? Because I got to be honest, I've never heard of a band, but I was, when your publicist, Chip, sent me information on the band, I went on your guys' site. I was pretty impressed with what I heard and saw. So how new is the band?
We have been together, the band formed in 2017. We originally were a cover project.
Oh, wow.
Because it's up chicken or the egg. Do you have fans to play your music to?
Yeah.
Or have great music and nobody hears it, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And then we cut over in September of last year as we started writing our original music, and we just started moving forward with the original music scene, and our launch was on April 17th of our first single, Dirty, to the digital world, and then our CD's available on our website called Destination Unknown.
Well, and so you guys, I'm assuming fans can either get like a physical CD, old school, or they can buy it on all the digital sites. Is that correct?
You can buy our first single, Dirty, on any of the digital sites. We only release one song digitally.
Okay.
But you can buy the CD up on our website, www.signal13band.com.
Well, I dig, old school physical CDs myself, because that's the time that I'm from and I grew up in. I used to dig, when you could go to the local Tower Records and check it out. I'd spend all day in there checking out all the, latest releases. You go in, back in the day, all the new stuff.
I remember standing in line for hours to get one person's autograph.
Yeah, I remember
record stores here.
To date myself a little, I remember when Guns N' Roses released that double album, and it went on sale at midnight and stuff like that. Kids these days don't know, what they're missing. But that's why I have I got to tip my hat to bands like you guys. That the fact that you're just even releasing any new music. I mean, there are bands that are just like, we're not gonna bother putting any new music out because who's buying CDs. So I dig the fact that you guys, started out as a cover band and you've progressed into an original band now. Talk a little bit about when you were starting out as a cover band. What were some of the bands you were covering?
Some of the bands were Guns N' Roses, AC/DC,
Wow.
Aerosmith, Queen.
Wow.
We had to add, a couple other like one-offs here. Like we did some Billy Squier,
Wow.
to get people dancing. Then we came back with Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Then we'll come back over and do some Quiet Riot.
Wow.
And funds like that. So we added our own spin to it because our band, as we wrote music and as we moved forward into the original project, the 80s music always made me feel the most happy.
Yeah.
I think that always made me feel the best I've ever felt. And we put a modern feel to it. So it has, I always want people to feel good when they come out to a show, because who wants to come home and feel sad?
Yeah, when
I go to a concert, I want to feel great.
I dig what you're saying because, I remember back in the days, like, when Nirvana and Alice in Chains and all those big grunge bands were just kind of breaking out, and all of a sudden, the bands were once popular, all the big, like, MTV bands, all of a sudden, even like bands like Motley Crue, they weren't selling like they once did, and everybody's like turned their back on those bands, but over the test of time, those are the bands that have kind of had staying power, and they've come and gone, but they never really went away. And outside of some of those grunge bands like we were mentioning, Nirvana or Alice in Chains, but those bands have a little bit of substance to their music. But at the time, there were all these like copycat cutter bands that were just, Alice in Chains, we're going to sound like them, we're going to sound like Nirvana, and that's all the record companies were, signing at the time. But that's why the cream eventually rises to the top, and the good bands stay, and the bad bands, they fade away.
Well, I think, when a lot of the rock documentaries have come out.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of people that didn't realize, like, The Dirt, when that came out.
Yeah.
Recently, I think a lot of people went back and went, oh my God, they did have some great music. I think Joan Jett.
Yeah.
I think Riffs had, theirs come out. There's been a lot of different pieces. Guns N' Roses came back out. Everybody wanted to go to the first concert because they were all afraid Axl Rose wasn't going to show up. And oh my God, he's amazing. And they just played 50 times better than they've ever played.
Yeah.
And I I think you're seeing a lot of people go, oh my goodness, I forgot how great that music is. And that's like what we try to lean off of, is the energy in which the 80s and 90s rock music brought, and then add a flavor profile into 2020 of, let's modernize that sound a teeny bit and see what we can do, but still have that feel that makes you feel good on the inside.
Well, I echo what you're saying, Vicky, in the sense that, like I said, I remember back in the day when all of a sudden everybody stopped listening to the, hair metal bands and the 80s rock, and it was all grunge, and everybody was, and I let, even though I liked some of those bands at the time, like what you're saying, I totally thought, like, okay, Nirvana or Alice in Chains, these grunge bands are great, but you know what, I would much rather go to a concert and have somebody sing a song about, rocking all night and party every day, as opposed to, we're going to tune down our guitars and we're going to bring you down and we're going to talk about being depressed, and I'm like, who wants that,
I want girls to get up and dance.
Yeah.
Because where girls dance and have a beat to it, guys will come. Yeah. And if everybody's just standing there shaking their hands going, yeah, I love you. And there's certain songs, you want them to do that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, people want to dance. Yeah. Most of the time, girls, if they can find a beat to something, they're going to dance. And I don't care how old they are. If they're 2 years old or they're 60 years old, I think that is what we're trying to drive through, is make sure we've got a beat to the music so people can dance, feel good, and walk away from the show going, God, I want to see them again. I want to see a new performance, because I think that's where today is at.
And even these bands you're mentioning, like Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, these are some of my all-time favorite bands. And I mean, back in the day when, like I said, grunge was breaking out, you had people saying, oh, Motley Crue, they suck, they're not selling records. But you know what? Over the course of, they've been around 40 years now, 40 plus years, and those songs have stood the test time, because if Motley Crue had nothing really other than just their looks to be successful off of, they wouldn't gone too far. But the reason those songs are still hits today and people love those songs 40 years later is because Nikki Sixx is such a great songwriter. I mean, if you don't have the songs, you don't have songs that got great hooks and stuff like that, the band's not going to go that far. And Motley Crue's amazing, because like when you consider it's the bass player that wrote most of the hit songs, not even the lead singer, but he writes for the singer's voice, if you know what I mean.
Right. I think, I hope our band can stand the test of time.
Yeah.
It's simple, rememberable hooks.
Yeah.
They can go in, because the more complicated something is, you're never going to remember. And the faster the lyric is, people aren't going to remember it. They'll sing little pieces of it. And I go back to that. Remember the game that you used to play and you used to whisper in somebody's ear, and then at the end, the word is whatever you said was totally different. And that's what it is with songs. And I had a laugh the other day with all this social distancing. They had a thing in the social distancing group going, what do you really think the words to this song are? And it was totally different than what it was. And I think I want people to know the words to this song, because I think it's more meaningful if people can sing it back to you and sing what it is. If you look at Tesla, they showed their songs, the words are very clear what they are, and people sing back to them. I was, on a Monsters of Rock cruise, and recently in February, before all the coronavirus, and they didn't even have to sing. The entire audience sang 2 of their songs to them the entire time. It was they just played the music, and they're all just like directing us, singing it.
If you're at all a Tesla fan, I got to tell you, I strongly suggest. They just put out this great acoustic album. It's called 5-Man London Jam. It's kind of like the 30th anniversary of that acoustic album they put out 30 years ago with the song Signs. And they went in and they did some of the songs from the first album. They got some of the more recent stuff that they recorded, and it's like they got a new version of Signs, but they got some of the more recent stuff. And when Tesla's just a great band altogether, but if you're a Tesla fan, I strongly urge you go out and get that, because it's the way they do their stuff acoustically, even some of this heavier metal stuff. It's amazing what they can do.
Yeah, I love them, and we're actually going out on tour with them. We were supposed to be on tour with them in April to May, but due to the virus, it's been postponed to the fall.
Yeah.
But they are just fabulous.
Yeah. Wow.
In person and on music. I mean, their music sounds exactly the same.
Yeah, and you know, when I got on your Facebook page, I seen that, and I seen that you guys, I think it's the same show maybe, and hopefully you get to do a show with them as well. Chase Ingle, I interviewed him because, you know, he's got the same press agent as you, and man, I just love what they're doing. I mean, it's kind of like a modern day, I say they're kind of a cross between, you know, kind of Queen and Kiss, because they get dressed up, and it's not quite in the makeup, but they're very theatrical at what they do, and they're one of the newer bands, I'd say, but they really know how to put on a great rock show.
Yeah, I saw that also. Brian Weed is also producing them and helping them, you know, with their music, and you couldn't have a better teacher than him.
Yeah, and you know, speaking of Tesla, one more time, I had a chance to interview the original guitar player Tommy Skew a number of years ago, and he was telling me at the time that acoustic album came out, you know, 30 years ago, that he said, you know, we had such a huge hit with that song Science. He goes, in fact, our version of the song became more popular than the original version by the original artist, and that's just amazing that you.
And that's a test of time with them, because that's how musical they sound.
Yeah.
They sing well. The band just is very well put together at all times.
Yeah, and Jeff Keith, the vocals. I mean, what I dig about him is he can sing a song full blown on metal, and then the most beautiful ballad. You know, so and singing like an angel.
His range is there is very few people with that kind of range.
Yeah.
He has that kind of range. You know, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith has that kind of range. Axl Rose has that kind of range, because you can go from screaming and this really rocked out voice to I call it your church vocal process, because you sing in a beautiful format.
Yeah, and you know, Steven Tyler.
To me, that is the test of time, because you have to be able to. You can't just walk up on stage and do that. It takes a lot of years of training and practice to do that.
In fact, Steven Tyler, he's another one of my favorite songwriters and singers, because I'll tell you why. He's one of the few guys that can get away with what you're talking about. In a lot of his songs, a lot of the lyrics are kind of gibberish, but he's able to get away with it. You know, he's able to pull that off, and yet the song still comes across as, you know, making sense. He's just an amazing writer.
Right, and I think, you know, like with our band, we have stuff that is super rock, that has a deep rock voice, and then we have songs that are beautifully sung well.
Yeah.
So it's like we try to like have that range in this process to make sure that we can withstand the test of time, because the bands in which have the vocalists that can do that, these are the bands that are still out here. Yeah,
and now let me ask you, Vicky, as far as your experience as a singer, now I know a lot of times when people, you know, like you said, you start out as a cover band, when people start out doing covers, you know, it's particularly hard, like if you're going to, like you said, okay, we're going to maybe, we'll do a Bon Jovi song, a Motley Crue song, you know, an Aerosmith. None of those singers sound exactly alike, so it's a lot harder, I sometimes think, doing a cover band where you're doing a number of different bands, as opposed to like a tribute band where you're like maybe just covering Guns N' Roses, let's say, and you just have to concentrate on sounding like that one singer. Now, I'd imagine being a female singer, but maybe what's that been like for you? Like, do you get people like saying, "Oh, you know, you don't really sound like Axl Rose," or do you think because you are a female singer that people allow you that versatility? If you know what I mean?
Well, I think one of the things that, you know, being a female rock singer, it's been really interesting, because when we opened for Kicks and Great White, the very first thing that all the guys who were loading in gear kept saying, "Do you know she's a girl?"
Yeah, well, okay.
You know, I mean, that was the most. I have gotten that more than one time.
Yeah.
I can sing really pretty like a girl, but I add my own twist, because I can sing like best of guys. I've been told I sing a cross between Bon Scott, Axl Rose, and Steve Whiteman. And then, you know, I just try to do it my own way, and AC/DC, Guns N' Roses, they're some of the strongest with, and then some of our Aerosmith. And then I had my own twist to it. Yeah, because, you know, people tend to dig it.
Yeah, I mean, because I would think too, like maybe like when you do a Joan Jett cover, let's say, like people say, "Oh, okay, she I could see her doing that," but what's she trying to sound like Bon Scott for? But at the same time, I think being a female, you might the audience might be more welcoming to you doing that as opposed to a guy. What do you think?
You know, I think it's how well you deliver. I think it's the whole band's performance. I think if you go out and you put all your effort into it, and you get the song as close to it as you can, because you have to remember, when you're in cover, you're playing all number one.
Yeah.
These are all songs that people have heard multiple times, and you have to do it justice. And I think I have to add a lot of things to the band. I don't have anything on my voice except a little bit of delay.
Yeah.
So I don't blow out the system.
Yeah.
But other than that, we've been pretty successful. I found that I've been asked multiple times to be in a AC/DC tribute band.
Wow.
And turned it down because I want to
concentrate on your own music. Yeah. And how do you feel about tribute bands? Well, you bring that up because I like to kind of look at a lot of those tribute bands as I call it rock and roll theater, but I'm a big fan of what they do, because even to do that, like if you were just to say be in an all-girl AC/DC tribute band or something like that, that takes a certain level of talent to first pull that off, and see, people think AC/DC songs are simple, simple 3-chord music, but from what people have told me, it's not as easy to play. I mean, as you might think, but and so first of all, you're playing like AC/DC music, let's say, and AC/DC fans are pretty hardcore, so you got to be able to deliver the goods, as they say, or and then to also not just have to sound like the band, but you try to go with the look as well. I mean, that can be pretty tricky,
I think, when I go out with tribute bands, I think the biggest thing you have to always look at with a tribute band is the sound. People almost don't care what you look like. They want to make sure. But there are people out there to get out with complete theatrics.
Yeah.
I think the ones that really put all the time and effort into memorizing that music and putting all their good, I think they're great.
Yeah. That's what I love about a band like
I think the ones that do not focus on the music as much and focus more on the look and then have backup vocals that are dubbed in, I think that's not as good of a
tribute
presentation as it could be.
That's what I love about a band like Steel Panther. They're kind of a tribute to that era, but at the same time they do their own original thing, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. But now, getting back to your band, Signal 13, I was curious, where's home base for you guys? I mean, what city are you from? In that?
We're in the Mid-Atlantic region. Our home base is in Maryland, but we're from the Mid-Atlantic region all over.
Oh, okay. And the other people in the band, like was this a band you formed, Vicky, or did you join an existing band? Talk a little bit about the history of the band.
No, I formed this band, and when you get ready to go into it, you rotate players in and out, because it takes a lot of effort of who we could write with.
Yeah.
And the only member that has sustained the test of time is the rhythm guitar player.
Wow.
John came and joined the band in September of last year, and he has stayed. And then we hired Johnny and Pat, who are the drummer and the bass player. And when we've got that lineup, we had started writing, and songs literally just came together in a fashion that all of us were like looking at each other. I don't think that any of us expected how well we could write together. We don't stay in our lanes. We kind of like are a mixing bowl. We kind of like get in each other's way. And, there's people that said, if you don't stay in your lane, I'm not staying in the band. I'm like, okay well, then that's not the way we're going to do this, because we're going to do this to the best of their capabilities. Whether it's, this is the best melody, this is the best way to do these guitar rhythms, this is the best way to do drums. We're all in each other's business when we're writing. And we tell each other we're brutally honest and tell, this doesn't sound right. When we're writing, and I write the lyrics and the melodies, and John will come back to me, the lead guitar player, and he said to me, this line in verse 2, line 2 is not strong enough. You're better than that. And then I'm like, what? And I have to go back and rewrite it. Or, we're in the studio and they'll come up with a riff, and they said, you should go write something to this. And we have a laundry room there, and I'll go sit on this. They call it the Magic Muse, which is a cinder block.
Wow.
And I'll go sit on these 2 cinder blocks, and we write one of the songs called I'm All Fired Up, and I sat there and wrote it in 15 minutes.
Wow.
I came back out and said, you wanted this? Here it is.
Wow, and
that's what's interesting.
Yeah, I imagine being the lead singer, you're kind of the principal songwriter, but like, how open are you to suggestions? I guess you're kind of telling me that you guys collaborate together, but like, I'd imagine being the lead singer, you kind of have that idea how you want the song to sound, or what you can kind of pull off in the studio. How open are you to the other guys giving opinions or suggestions on your performance?
I you know what? The way the song initially starts out and the way it finishes is two different things.
Wow.
And I am very open, just like they're very open when I tell John to move the chorus to the pre-chorus and move what he thought was the verse to the chorus because we move things around, and that's what makes this so unique. Most people, wouldn't just take theirs, like, just give me 7 more little lines. It's just 7 lines. Don't hold us up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to walk away so I can go right because I have to think about it and get away from that for a moment.
Yeah.
Just like when I tell them I don't like something.
Yeah.
When we did Dirty, John did 7 different lead guitar parts, and I'd walk in and in 10 seconds go, nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it.
Wow.
And he's like looking at me like he's going to blow my top, and then he played something, and I said, oh, that's it, right there. What you just played here is when he was like in there, and that's how it came about.
Wow, wow. And I'd imagine, again, being the lead singer, but you're very involved with the writing. Let me ask you, like, as far as the songwriting process, when you guys get together, like, is there ever a time, like, where the song might start off with a lyric idea you had, or do you typically start off with a riff and work with the music first and then kind of base your lyrics around the music? What's your process?
Well, what I'll tell you is this, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
One of the songs she wrote was called Stay With Me. And I knew how I wanted this song to go, but we just didn't have the music, and we just ran tape and started playing things. Okay. And I just started singing 17 minutes into this tape. I said, there it is, and it was a 20-second little thing, and we built off of that.
Wow.
Because we had the lyrics.
Wow.
We called John, who's our lead guitar, he'll come up with what we call the lassiter. He'll make some sort of thing. I'm like, hold on, I got something with that, and I'll flip it through my phone. And I'm like, this sounds like this. How does this sound? Because I write every day, and I write a lot of garbage, but I write some really good stuff, and then when I'm in the studio, all of a sudden I'll hear it, and then I go start flipping through some of these lyrics, and if I don't have anything that I thought fit that, because some words go up, some words go down, and you have to just judge which way you're going to go. Because it's never about that. It's and I'll tell them how I hear it, but there are certain songs we're writing right now. We have 5 songs done, and we're writing on a new song, and I said, I feel it like this. And Pat wrote a bass guitar lick to it to give us a start. And John just sent me the lead guitar with it. So we communicate like that. It's really hard with social distancing right now. Because we're trying to communicate as best as we can via, internet. But everybody's doing homework and watching YouTube and things like that. And please go up to YouTube and watch us too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Now, let me ask you, because it's one thing, to start out as a cover band, you're doing other people's music, but then when you progress into writing and performing your own material, like, go back to the first time you guys actually got up on stage for the first time, and it's like you're performing your own original material. I mean, that had to be a great feeling of accomplishment. What was that like? I mean, I must imagine that you had like an extra boost of energy. Like, man, this is our stuff. We're gonna be performing tonight.
I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do with myself. Because the hardest thing was we were at a conference and we got selected to perform. Wow. The bar was pretty packed, and we were in a bar where they had a lot of country singers going to be following with us, and we were the only rock band. Yeah. And I knew I had to win over this crowd. And when we got done, people were trying to sing along to our music. People were dancing in their chairs. People danced. They came up and wanted their picture taken with us. After I got into the car away from everybody, I burst into tears because it was like, I cannot believe this is happening. This is like the best feeling ever.
What a great reaction! I mean,
I've never had it my whole life.
Your very first time, and then I think on top of that, not only because you're performing your own original material, but I think at that time you also got to have the feeling of, wow, okay, we've been performing since the band's inception, other people's music, but tonight we're going to kind of find the band's voice. We're gonna get our own sound. We're not going to sound like Quiet Riot or Bon Jovi or whoever else we've been covering. We're gonna, the band's gonna get its voice tonight. That's got to be a, super feeling, and then to get a reaction like that.
It was phenomenal, and it got us all spoiled. So we're all like, we want to play our stuff. That was really good. Except for a few choosing covers that we want to do. If we ever want to play a cover, that's how it feels. It feels. I always feel the most enthusiastic when we do our own music.
Oh, wow. And now you're kind of mentioning all the social distancing and stuff. I mean, I live here in California, and one thing, we haven't had as bad of an epidemic here as like we'll say New York City and some other places, but even our governor and politicians are talking about, oh, we might not fully be having entertainment shows or concerts, or we might not even open up Disneyland or open the state up full time until there's until there's some kind of cure for this. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. But with all that being said, Vicky, are you guys kind of thinking in those terms now? Well, because that's a big way. There was once a day, like we were saying, when bands would, they would go on tour because they were putting out new music, putting out a new full-length CD. A lot of bands don't even put out full-length music because CDs don't sell like they once did. But that's the last couple of years how bands make their money is going on the road doing live shows. If you guys kind of thought, okay, well, if we're not going to be able to go out and perform, maybe we'll start working on more music or shooting videos, or what's your thought process with that?
Well, when we released this, we were originally going to go on tour with Tesla and then had a file with Slaughter and LA Guns.
Yeah.
And when it got canceled, we still kept our music because there's a lot of people at home listening to Spotify, going on social media, so it gave them time to get to know us.
That's cool, yeah.
So at least we get to put out some videos, they get to know our music. So when we come out again, people will go, I know who they are. They're on Spotify. Oh, I downloaded their tune. I know who this is. That gave us a little bit of an edge. In the 5-state region here, which we played, it's making it bolster up a little. It's pretty, it's doing well with us. But we're getting fans all over the world.
Yeah,
that's thrilling.
Talk a little bit about that. The power of the internet. Because see, I think a number of years ago, like like we're talking today, a lot of bands, they don't even know what a record deal is, and only a lot of the big established bands even have a record deal. And a lot of bands like you guys, you put out your music, independently, and that's kind of a double-edged thorn because of course if you got a record label behind you, got a little more money, but at the same time, if you put your music out independently, if it sells, then there's more money and more bank for the band as opposed to a fat cat in a suit. Getting more money than the band, so it kind of is a double-edged thorn. But what's that like to you get messages from your fans and you see, oh boy, people are reacting to our music, halfway around the world, and countries that we haven't even stepped foot in. That's got to be a pretty amazing feeling.
Well, what we did is we decided, we wanted to test the waters.
Yeah.
So we put out one song. I figured if it was good enough for the Beatles, it was good enough for us.
There you go.
So we launched one song, just to test the waters, to see what the world thought of us. Yeah. And if it got traction, then we had room to stand on. We used the money from the 2 years of playing covers to fund this project, buy truck, buy trailers, buy all the equipment, because we had to be ready for when this time came to be able to go on tour, be mobile, have in-ear monitor systems, have the equipment necessary to go on a tour with a larger band. Yeah. That's what was most important to us, and we invested everything back into this project. Wow. So we could fund it. Wow. And when we got ready to launch this, we met David, who interviewed us, because he can work with anybody, and he said, here's this song, okay, let me hear something else. Yeah. And 2 weeks later we came back and said, here's these, and he goes, okay. And then he made a comment to me and he said, do you really want to do this or not? And I said, no, I really want to do this. So then we had some meetings with our publisher, publicist, Chip Ruggieri, and we went up and met with him. And we hired him because it was important for us to get the best for this music.
He's one of the best guys I've had the pleasure of dealing with as far as PR people go. I mean, just to give people an idea of, if you don't know who Chip is, great PR agent. But just to give people an idea again about Chip and what he does is he not only represents bands like you, but you guys got the same publicist as Michael Schenker, Judas Priest, and a lot of other great artists that he worked with. He's worked with like Quiet Riot and Tony Iommi and all these other great bands over the years, and he's always given me great artists to interview, and that's why he works with like legends, like we say, like Michael Schenker and new bands like you, and as long as he thinks the band's got something to offer and some kind of talent, he's willing to spread the word about them.
Well, and I will say Chip has been amazing. He took us on as a brand new band without a label with us, and we were independent. And I said, we'll push this as far as we can, and we just got to move it forward. And he has been amazing, as well as our manager, David Snowden. He has helped us a lot. And our booking agent, Zach Mullinex. They've just been our rocks.
And I'm sure you know, Vicky, a little bit I know about David is I know back in the day that he was behind the scenes kind of also working with Kiss back in the 80s and that's kind of how he got into PR work, but I know he's very active in that as well, and he's got quite the history himself.
And I think what's really, the best thing about having this team is we wrote these songs and gave them raw recordings, and we let them pick what they thought should be here. And when people were saying to us, we want to hear some music, and we gave them raw tracks that haven't been finished, that weren't mastered, that weren't ready to go, to listen to us, to pick us, to come on tour with them.
Yeah.
And my hats off are to Tesla and to Slaughter and LA Guns, because they took a chance on a brand new band that had never come out, and because they liked what they heard. And that was a big testament to them.
And let me ask you, Vicky, of course, you're close to the material because, you're the one that wrote it and you're involved in everything with the band. But when you first presented those songs, like to these people, the feedback you got, I mean, you kind of just talked about that, but did it kind of match what you believed yourself? Like, they picked the same songs I thought we should go with, or what was that experience like?
I didn't want to be biased.
I
felt I wanted them to listen to the material and see what the market was going to be able to withstand and what they liked.
Yeah.
And I felt really passionate about one song. And it just because it was the first song we ever did, which was not even released. And they're like, it's too sad and no. That's how it was. And, and I had, that was the only thing, but I had to believe, I hired experts.
Yeah. You got the best.
To work with.
You got the best.
And I have to listen to them. And, they haven't guided us wrong. Mm-hmm. Every step of the way, they've been here with us. They've supported us. They've answered 5 trillion questions from 5 of us. And they've been really great to us. And I can't say anything but my hats are off to them.
Yeah.
And right now we're writing. We have 5 songs finished, 12 songs in process. And we're going to hand them again to them and say, here you go. What do you think? Yeah, so
let me ask you now. Right now we got this 5-song EP, Destination Unknown. Great title for, your very first release. I mean, because you're kind of, that's where you're at right now in life. Destination.
We don't know where we're going.
and I love the fact, like, you tell me, like, our material is all over the place. That's one of the things I loved about a band like, Queen, for example. They could have a song like Somebody to Love and then Stone Cold Crazy, kind of the best of both worlds, real heavy, real poppy. They were all over the place. So, and I think too, if you're a band that kind of, people can't really pinpoint what you do, and you kind of sound like your sound's all over the place. When you go on tour and you tour with these other bands, you're more able to go out with different types of acts because you work well with, a Tesla, let's say, an LA Guns, Slaughter, whatever the case may be. I could see a band like you guys going out with any of those bands and audience, being accepting of what you do.
I think, when we look at what we, the songs that are on this CD, one of them has a real Jason Bonham, Led Zeppelin feel to it.
Yeah.
One has a bluesy Aerosmith feel to it. One of them, it is right there in the pocket with a harder rock feel to it. One of them's more like a rock dance thing that, girls can dance nonstop to, and then there was Dirty. Yeah. And that's a cross between those songs, too.
It all fits.
However, I always say to the guys, we don't walk in with a predestined idea.
Yeah.
It's how the song bursts itself. It's how it just comes out. It's the way it's supposed to come out.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, best compliment I can give you. I haven't heard the full album yet, but I heard the single, and I was really getting down to it. And the best compliment I think I can give you, Vicky, is I haven't seen the band live or anything or any live videos, but I can tell you, I gotta tell people, I went to your Facebook page before doing the interview today. I was just looking at the photos you have up there, and man, just looking at your photos of you guys up on stage, especially I was looking for photos of you, and I thought, man, these are just still photos, but man, I get the picture of this chick. She can really rock, You know, she really puts on a show. I mean, you're really just in the photos on your Facebook page. My point I'm trying to make is, I could tell how animated you are during the performance, and that's the fact that you're so into your performance. I mean, that's got to be, you know, put on the ultimate show for fans, and those are the type of bands that I really always loved. You know.
Well, what I'll tell you is this: our live performance, we give 150% to our fans.
And again,
if you're coming out to see us, you're there to have a show.
I mean, the best compliment I can give you, when I was looking at those photos, again, these are just still photos of a band performing on stage at, you know, various shows that you guys got posted on the page, and it's not even a live video, but just looking at you, your poses and everything, I'm like, man, that's a band I want to go see. It made me want to, you know, go and see you guys. That's how impressive all that is.
Thank you. That's when we try to look at the Dirty video when we did this, because this song is about working hard, and then it went into some things that happened to us along the way, and then I wanted to add some sex appeal, and Baltimore has some really old industries, i.e. being Bethlehem Steel, Lever Brothers, GM, where they have a big history, and we found where we shot the video was in a building that is a pipe bending place that has been around since the 1860s.
Wow.
And that's why I picked that place, because I wanted the history of Baltimore and the hardworking blue-collar people, because it's everyday people get up and go to work. Yeah. And they try their hardest. And that's why Dirty got written, because originally it was about, and it still has hardworking people every day getting up and going to work.
Wow. Very different from what the world is like today, but hopefully we'll be getting back to that. Now, again, you have this 5-song EP, Destination. And you mentioned you're working on another batch of songs. I was curious, would the next process kind of be a full-length LP, and would that maybe include the first set of these 5 songs and maybe a new batch of songs, or is it going to be all new material?
You know, that's a really great question, and that is still yet to be determined.
Okay.
Because we have 4 songs that are already recorded, not part of the 5 that's in process, and the other 12 that we chose not to do anything with. We're just letting them sit out there at this time. And we'll just hand everything back over to our management team and say, what do you think? What do you guys think we should do? The biggest thing we don't want the music to age out. Because some of the digital processes at this time, if you load all 12 songs on an album into there, they all age at the same time, and you're trying to promote all these different songs and all these videos. And if we release one song at a time, digitally, nothing ages out.
That's kind of funny you say that.
You can come out and see us and buy the album from us or buy the CD from us. And then eventually we'll release the next song and have a video with it, so it doesn't age out.
You know, it's funny you say that, because my experience has been this as a music fan. If a song is a good song, it doesn't matter if you listen to it today or 20 years from now, it's still going to be a good song. Perfect example of that is, you were mentioning the Eagles. I mean, they're a band that, I mean, between Glenn Frey and Don Henley, the drummer, great songwriters. And those songs, you know, you listen to them, you know, 30 years after the fact, they're still relevant today just because these guys know how to write a great sounding song, you know. And that's what it's all about, is if you got you got to have the songs, not just about the way you look. You got to have the songs, and they got to have memorable hooks and everything. And that's why bands like we were talking about, Tesla and Queen, Bon Jovi, these are bands that, you know, their music stands the test of time because they're just great songs, and that's what people over the course of their lives want to have great songs to listen to.
Because everybody is going to get old one day.
Yeah.
And if you look at how music sustains time, Elvis has been dead for 30 years. His songs still rock. And they're out there. Queen is still absolutely out there.
And I'll tell you this, you know, Queen with Adam Lambert is not the same as Freddie Mercury, but do you know why people are accepting of that? Because those are great songs. And it's kind of funny because people are accepting of Queen with Adam Lambert than when they had Paul Rodgers for whatever reason, but it seems to work better. But those are just Adam Lambert, I guess. He can perform the songs closer the way Freddie Mercury did, but that's why Queen fans are accepting that, I think, you know.
The songs will sustain time.
Yeah.
And those songs cross multitudes of years, multitudes of decades, and multitudes of age fans. There's kids today that are in elementary school that know We Will Rock You.
Oh, yeah.
What football stadium doesn't play We Will Rock You?
Oh, yeah.
None.
Yeah.
You know, what hockey stadium? We Will Rock You. And to me, that's what I'm trying to, we would like to have our songs still be here on this earth when we're not here anymore.
Well, they will be in some form or another. It just, it's even going to be interesting to see, you know, maybe what the internet's like 20 years from now, what are the differences, how's it changed or whatever. But that's how I find a lot of bands I interview, just research and stuff, you know, bands online and stuff. But you know, talk a little bit about that. How much do you enjoy like fans sending you messages and stuff, you know, on your website and the Facebook page and all that?
We tend to respond to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody writes us a message, we write them back.
Mm-hmm.
If they like stuff on our page, we thank them. If they rate me stuff on my Facebook page, I thank them. We always give at least somebody a heart and a love that knows we read what you said. And then I write one big giant post like, here you go. Thank you guys so much for wishing me a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. Thank you so much. And I put that out there to everybody, but I read everything and gave everything either a heart or a love. Some people will write something funny to me, and I'll put like a ha-ha and stuff like that. It's really important. And we, as a band, with all this going on with this virus, we put it out there if somebody needed help with food, because we all don't have enough. Nobody does. But we will share. And we did have a fan write us and say, can you help us? And we did.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I just said, just give me the address, and we shipped stuff to them. And I got a little note back today saying, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And you didn't ask any questions. I said, that wasn't the point of putting it out there. You're very welcome.
Wow.
We're not going to ask anybody any questions. And that comes from the heart of this band.
How cool is that?
Back.
Wow.
We give back every day to our fans and the people that work with us. It's very important to us to stay connected to where we are even as we get bigger. We hope that this process never changes, because I walk out in the audience and saying, if people ask me, can we have this, and I just can't afford it, here you go, because we want them to stay fans.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, before I go, Vicky, the last thing I kind of want to touch base on is I always love to ask people, because I know one of the hardest things to do is come up with the band name, and kind of like, you know, I look at the band's name, Signal 13. Okay, I wonder how they came up with that. Talk a little bit about the band's name and how you came up with it and all that.
Well, everybody in our band is either related to the military, the emergency responders, or the police.
Oh, wow.
And Signal 13 means officer in trouble as a police code.
Oh, wow.
So we have done, so that's how the band got named, and we work a lot with wounded warriors, the veterans, various emergency responders, the fire department, the police, the canines, to donate time back, play music for them at various charitable causes, and that's where the heart of that goes to.
And I was kind of curious, like, do you think a lot of people know how involved the band members are with all that? The reason I ask is because, like, we've been talking a lot about the band Tesla. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. And one thing I always dug about Tesla is, I'll be honest, before I was a Tesla fan, I had no idea. Just, not because, you know, I didn't learn it in school, but I just didn't pay a lot of attention. But I had more of a knowledge about who Nikola Tesla was because I was a Tesla fan, because there was a rock band named Tesla. What's Tesla? You know.
Right.
Yeah, and I always did.
I don't think anybody knows what we do, you know, with this band.
Yeah.
I think they see gigs come up, or because some of the charitable events we don't even advertise.
Yeah.
We just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Or we get contacted by a canine organization and said, "Hey, can you come play for this?" And we will.
Yeah, see, I dig that, because I was just going to suggest that, say, you know, I had no idea that's what Signal 13 was, but I was kind of thinking in my own mind, like, maybe if more people knew about that, you know, and they did these type of gigs, you know, they get people come to a show. It's one way to kind of get the band's name out there, but at the same time, I dig what you're saying about, we don't do it for that reason to, you know, get the band's name. We just do it because it's coming from the goodness of our heart, and I think that makes it that much cooler, you know.
This band will play for 5 people or 50,000.
Yeah.
Because it's about one fan at a time. Because if you win those 5 fans that you played for, then the next time they're going to bring their 5 friends.
Yeah.
And then now we got 10, and then the next time is 20, and then 20 is 40. We win one fan over at a time.
And that's what it's all about, and that's how you get really build up a fan base and get staying power. And very last thing, Vicky, because you mentioned that you were going to do a show or something with LA Guns. I was just curious, is it the Steve Riley LA Guns or is it the Tracy Guns version?
It's the Steve Riley LA Guns with Slaughter. And
that's cool.
Now it got moved to September 26th at the ranch down in Fort Myers, Florida.
I know they've got a new album they've recorded, and they just kind of released the very first single. I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago. But so they're kind of just launching that band again. So that's kind of going to be a cool thing.
Absolutely, they're amazing.
Well, Vicky, unless there's anything else, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, and then maybe down the line, if you ever like to, when you have anything else to promote, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to do it again. Now, the interview we did today, I'm going to try to see if I can get up in the next week or so, and I'll be sure to email you guys as soon as it gets